All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Randall. This is the McClures. We react, review, we make fun of, we laugh at stuff over here. Links in the description if you want to help support, donate, leave a comment, like, all that good shit. We're going to be checking out Sarah Huckabee Sanders today. She signed a bill to give drug dealers the death penalty if their drugs kill a user. Interesting. Interesting. My only problem when they do legislation like this is it ends up putting the wrong people in jail for way too long. But I'm definitely down with the death penalty for drug traffickers. I don't know about like local corner boys who, if a local corner boy's regular ODs, I don't think local corner boys should be put to death. So we'll have to get into this and see how it goes. But I'm curious. I'm curious.
I want to say a huge thank you to Attorney General Tim Griffin, who is here with us today, Senator Gilmore and Representative Gazaway, and all of the legislators and members of law enforcement who made today possible. I also want to say a huge thank you to the Arkansas State Police for hosting us at their headquarters, and to all of the members of my administration, but most importantly to our law enforcement community who has worked so tirelessly, not just on this effort, but that puts themselves on the line every single day, serving and sacrificing for the safety of our state. Since the introduction of the Safer, Stronger Arkansas legislative package, I've heard from police and prison personnel from across our state. These are the people on the ground every day trying to keep our streets safe from violent criminals. And frankly, they've been struggling. They see the problems that riddle our prisons, our criminal justice system, and our law enforcement programs. Almost uniformly, they are ecstatic to see the Safer, Stronger Arkansas legislative package signed into law. I heard particularly strong testimony from Saline County Sheriff Rodney Wright, who's president of the Arkansas Sheriff Association. He described how this legislation affects every single county in our state and has the support of every single sheriff. Sheriff Wright in particular has more than 40 state inmates sitting in his county jail. He can't move them to the state prison because of the bed shortage. And while he's holding these felony offenders, he's unable to lock up other criminals in our state. When we let misdemeanors go unchecked, those minor offenses will often transform into major ones. It's no mistake that Arkansas has one of the highest violent crime rates in America. In a moment, the legislation I sign will put an end to that failed status quo. No more revolving door in our prisons, and no more weak sentencing, and no more unsafe streets. Under the Protect Arkansas Act, if you commit an egregious offense like murder, rape, or child sex abuse, you will serve 100% of the jail time that you are sentenced to. Violent offenders will have to serve at least 85% of their sentence before they're eligible for release with supervision. No more letting violent criminals back on the street without serious prison time. I'll also sign the death by delivery bill today. That legislation is focused on the killer drug dealers that are fueling our ongoing fentanyl epidemic. The Biden administration has left our southern border wide open, allowing a flood of fentanyl to pour into our country through Mexico. How specifically
does it target them, though?
To protect our citizens, Arkansas will step up where the federal government has failed. Arkansas will now charge drug dealers with murder if they deliver certain drugs that cause an overdose. For the most heinous drug dealers, those who traffic fentanyl to children, we will charge them with life in prison. In addition to these two bills, my administration is funding a new prison with 3,000 beds to address the crisis-level prison bed shortage in our state. Talk to any law enforcement officer and they'll tell you that this is one of their #1 legislative priorities. We're also investing in the practices that are proven to reduce recidivism, and we will offer millions more dollars in incentives to bring additional corrections officers into the field and enhance pay and training for our police. Some have criticized Safer, Stronger Arkansas. They say that a new prison and stronger sentencing are too tough on Arkansas's criminals. But we will not let violent criminals continue to go unchecked.
Laws are too tough on criminals?
We will not allow them to continue to terrorize our citizens. And we will certainly not accept the failed status quo. We will not rest until we hold criminals in Arkansas accountable. And
all right, so there's Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Apparently, she's turning out to be a pretty good governor. Most of what she said, I agree with. The thing with politicians, though, is you'll agree with what they say until you get into the nitty-gritty of the bill and find out exactly what's in it. Let's see. Sanders' new drug dealer law. All right, so expansive criminal justice bill aims to overhaul Arkansas's parole system, hold dealers of fentanyl and other dangerous drugs responsible for overdose deaths. What is the name of the bill? All right, so House Bill 1456, the Fentanyl Enforcement or Accountability Act, establishes the death by delivery offense with strict criminal penalties. So they're over capacity. They need a new prison. All right, so House Bill 1456 is what we need to look up here. Let's see. Subchapter delivery dispense definitions. All right. So death by delivery in the first degree. A person commits the offense of death by delivery in the first degree if he or she knowingly delivers or conveys methamphetamine, heroin, or cocaine to another person, and the injection, ingestion, inhalation, or other introduction of the methamphetamine, heroin, or cocaine, including any adulterants or dilutants. Shouldn't it be additives or dilutants? I don't know. Is the cause of the death of the person, except as provided in subdivision B2 of this section. Death by delivery in the first degree is a Class Y felony. Death by delivery in the first degree is a Class A felony if the defendant proves by preponderance of the evidence one or more of the following factors. The defendant does not have a prior felony conviction. The defendant played a minor or passive role in the delivery or conveyance of the methamphetamine, heroin, or cocaine. The defendant was unaware of adulterants or dilutants in the methamphetamine, heroin, or cocaine that accelerated or contributed to the death of another person. Or the defendant possessed the methamphetamine, heroin, or cocaine for personal use, and the conveyance was not part of a transaction for which the defendant obtained income, resources, or benefits. Okay, so it's not for users who share their stash. It's not for drug dealers who unknowingly are providing fentanyl-laced products. I don't know how you're going to prove a dealer specific, I guess the ones that added it themselves, which I don't think any of them do. So that's kind of weird. All right, so death by delivery in the second degree is a person commits the offense of death by delivery in the second degree if he or she knowingly delivers or conveys to another person a controlled substance that is not fentanyl, methamphetamine, heroin, or cocaine. All right, now that's the first time fentanyl is mentioned. Fentanyl isn't mentioned up here. Oh, yeah, it is. Section AB. Okay. A counterfeit substance and the injection, ingestion, or inhalation or other induction of a controlled substance or counterfeit substance, including any alterants or dilutants, is the cause of death of a person, except as provided in subdivision B2 and B3 of this section. Death by delivery in the second degree is a Class A felony. Oh, okay, so B2 and B3 of this section. So you get life in prison. Okay. And it would be a Class B felony if there's no prior felonies, minor role, unaware, or if it was for personal use. Exemptions. All right. The following are not offenses under this subchapter. An individual practitioner acting in the usual course of a professional practice, issuing a valid prescription for a controlled substance for legitimate medical purposes. All right. So that gets the doctors who actually subscribe. The doctors who actually prescribe fentanyl to people, gets them off the hook for their clients or patients, I mean, their patients dying. Interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. It doesn't say that they're going to kill them, though. It doesn't say they're giving them the death penalty, just life in prison. And everybody knows life in prison doesn't mean life in prison. I guess sometimes it does, depending on how you act in prison. But for the most part, life in prison doesn't mean life in prison. It does mean you stay in prison until you get old.